Good afternoon, everybody. How are we? I suppose it's the morning for certain people, isn't it? It's certainly the morning for these two people. So
Yes.
we are here for our 6th reading slot, and we are here with Serena J. Bishop and L.L. Shelton. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are we doing today? We okay?
Yep.
Brilliant.
It's still early here, but we're up.
Yay! Always good. Right, we're going to start with Serena J. Bishop with her reading, and are you reading from Leveled?
I am.
Fantastic. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about it, and we will let you get on with it.
All right. Basically, my book Leveled came out in September. It's called that because there's a woman, Purse, who's just started teaching at a university, and she's met another professor there who she's very intrigued with, very attracted to. However, this woman, Steph, will only venture into a relationship by following a series of steps or levels so she can find her way to marriage. So it's essentially Steph has designed a relationship system and Purse has agreed to follow it. And that is where my reading kind of picks up after they've finished their second date and they're in Purse's apartment. So I'm going to read from that section. It wasn't as though Purse had gone without sex for years, but this was the first time she had felt her skin flush from touches that were fairly innocent. A tongue grazing her lip, delicate fingers teasing her abdomen. Steph may not have had the boldest hands, but her touches were provocative. They encouraged Purse to explore. When she dipped her head to Steph's neck and heard a sharp intake of breath, she felt the bottom of her tank top rise and her skin cool. Purse read that signal loud and clear. She reached down and stripped off her own shirt. Steph kept her hands on Purse's ribcage and stared, but not at her eyes or the tattoo that peeked out from her pants. Purse looked down. There's a generous amount of cleavage pouring out from her bra. See something you like? I have to go now, Steph said in a nervous voice and crawled out from underneath of her. Purse's brow furrowed and panted while on her knees. That was not the typical reaction. Did I do something? You took off your shirt! Steph pointed at the garment wildly. And it's still off! More than a little confused, Purse put her tank top back on. I thought you wanted it off. You were tugging at it. That's the universal sign for take it off. Now Steph's brow crinkled and mouth skewed in thought until she had a moment of clarity and pointed at her watch. My fitness tracker got snagged on a thread. I was trying to get my hand out because I'd gone too far. This is only our second date. Clothing off is well beyond the second date. Purse sighed. She thought she understood Steph's system, but clearly there was a disconnect. Okay, for one, I'm sorry I misinterpreted your signal. I genuinely thought you wanted to get more physical. Steph's tense posture relaxed. Apology accepted. I'm glad. Number two, your system, while clear to you, is not clear to me. I was under the impression that we could fool around as much as possible, just as long as we didn't take it to the point of climax. Oh, Steph said, a bit embarrassed. Yeah, that's not what I meant. Purse hoped for more of an explanation, but Steph stood, patiently waiting for her. This is where you have to tell me what you mean, because I don't get it. Well, is it clear enough to say, follow my lead? Meaning if you do it, so can I? Yes, I understand that. But we also have to consider that accidents happen, like when a watch gets caught on a thread, and if that happens, we'll have to talk about it instead of assuming the other overstepped intentionally. Okay? Steph sucked her bottom lip. Okay, that's fair. Now they were progressing. Purse turned her sexual energy into cognition. She stood from the couch and paced with her arms folded. She wanted to stop any possible trouble which could come her way again. How about sexy comments? Like double entendres? Sure, but also playful teasing. Words can be very powerful sexual tools. Steph guffawed. I know that. I have an entire bookcase shelf of lesbian erotica. An entire shelf? Perce was just as surprised as she was impressed. Steph shrugged. It's not like I read it every day, but sometimes I get in the mood, and that mood might be elevator shenanigans or dystopian survivalists, or I get the idea you like variety. So how do you feel about wordplay? Steph bit her lower lip and began to mimic Perce's pacing of the room. They circled each other like competitors, even though they were on the same team. I got it, Steph announced proudly. At this point, wordplay can point out observable physical features with the intent of arousing the other person. Give me an example. Steph lowered her eyes and gestured to Perce. Your nipples are very hard right now. Perce looked at her chest and saw 2 points straining against the fabric of her tank top. So they are. And I could say that your ass looks amazing in those pants. Well, any pants, really. Steph grinned. That is very acceptable. Perce stopped in front of Steph. Every part of this woman fascinated her. She was like no one she had ever met in her life. Frustrating at times, but that was the process when learning how to successfully interact with a new person or culture. Steph gently touched a spot at Perce's temple, a mirror of their first date. It's really cool watching your brain at work. Why? Do I look confused? The opposite. You look confident, like you have a puzzle in front of you and you just know you're going to solve it, which I happen to find very endearing. And scene. I hope you enjoyed that reading.
You need to do the audiobook of that because that was brilliant. Now I've read Level because I proofread it for May, for your publisher. But yeah, that's how I read it in my head as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I really enjoyed it actually. It was a really interesting, different take on kind of how a relationship might go, you know, with the I was going to ask you, my first question actually was, where did you come up with the 6 levels?
Well, I wanted to, Perce by nature, her character is very fluid and she's had a very poor history of relationships, essentially doesn't want to be in one because it just ends in heartache. So the perfect conflict for her would be to find someone who she's attracted to and as the perfect opposite, someone who is so structured and someone who desperately wants a relationship. And I took those 2 qualities and said, well, if someone is this, Steph's also a scientist. I was like, well, she would design a system. She would scientific method the hell out of this and research it and find and create a system. So that's how I came up with that. And then to come up with the 6 levels, I did a little bit of research to find like what are common themes in successful relationships, but also, you know, things I've observed in my own life and other people's lives, to come up with a series of steps that were both logical, but also could prove to have some challenges to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted more wordplay.
Don't we all?
Yes.
Have you got any questions for Serena?
Where's the wordplay?
Yeah.
Where's the word? It's later on in the book. That's just a small excerpt, unfortunately.
I was going to say that's not their first, because Steph, while she is very, you know, she's created the system, it's very concrete. She's also sometimes very hard-headed and doesn't feel that she's wrong or understands other perspectives, but Perce is also very intelligent and sees these gray areas. So, you know, there's gray areas in some of these levels, and that's where they get into some conflict, but also discussion. And I think that's where a lot of the book's humor comes from, is that you see these sides And they're logical, but at the same time, they're in conflict with each other, and they have to talk it through. They have to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that impression when I read it. So I was calling her Perse, but yeah, okay, Purse, right, fair enough. She has a sister. Yeah,
yes.
She has a sister, and you write from the sister's point of view occasionally. What made you decide to do that? Because oftentimes with a romance, you get just 2 points of view.
Yeah, I've read those romances often where you get it from both the two perspectives of both people in that romantic relationship. And for this, the reason why I decided to write from Missy, who's Perce's point of view, or sister's point of view, was because I thought Perce, to me, if you don't understand her background and you don't love her as family, can be really difficult. Like, why even bother? My wife did not like Perce at all. This is not the first time she's hated one of the characters I've written. So it's like I needed something that softened her, that was not like, because she's very, free. And so it's like, why even bother with this? Okay, she's smart. She has all these sexy attributes, but she's kind of a, why is Steph trying that hard? So I wanted to put in Missy's perspective to say, basically, I've seen what you've been through, and I understand why you have these harsh, extreme feelings about relationships and how it functions with your anxiety. Because Perce also has pretty severe anxiety. And I thought that gave Perce's character more humanity. No.
Was she hard to write, Serena? Was she a hard character to write? Because knowing you and meeting you, she sounds like totally the opposite of you. Was she? But from my aspect, because you're just Serena.
Writing Perce was hard. I used 3 sensitivity readers because of the anxiety, and each one basically gave me a little nuance to an aspect of her character to make her more real. And I have met people like her. I've met very intelligent people who are very fluid in very aspects of their life, but to really kind of get into her head was tough. So yeah, the sensitivity readers helped. And at times it was just like, what's the opposite of what Steph would do? Because I'm, being a scientist and being very, logical. It was easy to write from Steph's point of view. In fact, I had originally written the novel from Steph's point of view. So I had to completely change the point of view of my novel, because I realized it was a more interesting novel written from Perce's point of view. So I think that probably covered another 17 questions in that answer, but I hope that addressed it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So obviously you work in a scientific field. Is there another kind of professional field that you'd really like to write in? So
you mean like a character, or?
Yeah.
Actually, yes. And this sort of goes for an idea for my future project that I've planned. I'd really like to go and write the perspective of some sort of law enforcement, not necessarily police, more like FBI-ish, only because I think that would work with this character I have in mind. And also, I have, living so close to DC, I have friends who are FBI agents and, work in various fields of the government. So I have easy people I can ask questions. But that will be very different, writing from a law writing from that kind of character background and all of that. But interesting, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, you know, X-Files and CSI and
oh
stuff
yes,
like
absolutely.
Who doesn't like it? A good kind of law enforcement mystery type.
Yeah, and before that, there's actually a little bit of a military influence too. So, but I kind of work. I'm a contractor, DoD, so I kind of have more insight there. But I've never actually been a soldier or warfighter myself, so I'll have to get some more firsthand, as much firsthand experience there as possible. A lot of interviews.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, let me just have a quick look, see if there are any more questions. No, we are good. Oh, Whisper's decided she's objecting to something by barking. So it's LL Shelton's turn to do a reading. If you'd just like to give us a brief outline of what you're reading from and what's going to happen, and take it away.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. I got to give you a little backstory because I am reading from a little bit deep into the book. I'm reading from Carly, Knights of Lily-Anne. This is Redemption of Carly. This book came out in June, this past June during COVID. A little backstory. The Knights of Lily-Anne series, I run two stories parallel. There's a story about Lily-Anne, who is an escort, and her family, and it intertwines with another story, another plot, which is the Carly plot, and they kind of mix together, then separate throughout the books. But a little bit about Carly before I read. Carly is she's one of my hardest characters to write. She is blind, completely blind. She went blind at 20. And the section I'm reading is about the second date with a woman that has named Avery that has caught her attention. So I hope you enjoy. Okay. All right. Okay. So where are we going on our date? Carly asked. We're headed to work, Avery answered. Did you say work? Yep. So do I get a clue about where we're going? Carly asked as she lifted her face to the open window of the car and took a deep inhale. We're traveling south. How did you know that? The sweet smell of the chocolate factory to the left of us tells me Shady Beach is ahead. It's a big tourist spot. Am I correct? Amazingly, yes. My first job is combing the sand with a tractor and making it all smooth for tomorrow's tourists to tear it apart with their sandcastles and footprints. It will only take about an hour. The second job isn't far from there. Second job. How many jobs do you have, for God's sakes? Carly asked. The salt of the sea tickled her airways. The crashing of the waves against the solid ground played in the distance. I have 3. It'll be 2 if we don't get going. Ready? Avery jumped out of the car, rounded the corner, and opened the passenger door. Pulling Carly to a stand, she yanked her closer. A soft kiss whispered over Carly's lips that promised passion, but then it ended. And Avery walked towards the water. Guiding her over the wall that separated the boardwalk and the sand, they reached the tractor in seconds. The power of the vehicle rumbled to life under the 2 women, and Carly squealed as the monster tractor jerked forward. And Avery eyed the beautiful blonde. She was smiling and laughing. She was stunning in the moonlight with the waves crashing behind her. The machine slowed to a roll and the engine hummed. Okay. Your turn, sexy lady, Avery said as the tractor came to a stop. Switch places with me. I can't drive, Carly announced. Why not? I'll let you know when to turn left or right. I know you can hear what side the ocean's on. There's nothing on the beach but sand, so nothing to hit unless you dump us in the ocean. Lift your ass and come on over. I'll go under. They climbed across each other, and Carly found herself in the driver's seat. Avery watched as Carly's fingers fanned out and grasped the steering wheel. Excitement covered her date's face with the glow more potent than the moonlight. I will tell you when we need to turn. Make it a curved turn, not a sharp turn. Carly affirmed. Her fingers tightened down on the steering wheel with nervousness spinning in her stomach. Her hand guided through the gears as the tractor jumped into drive. With a quick jerk, the tractor lunged forward. I'm driving, Carly squealed. Avery gazed at her. The smile that stretched across her gorgeous face and into her eyes was priceless. This woman was amazing. Go left, Avery blurted. She didn't dare tell Carly the near miss of the wall. It would be her fault. She couldn't take her eyes off of her. The tractor moved in circles, each getting smaller with each pass. And Avery's words in Carly's hand, it came to a rest. That was amazing. Thank you, Carly said. The sudden movement surprised Carly as Avery straddled her. Their bodies pressed close together. Carly's hands traced Avery's arms until they found the back of her neck. She pulled her in, lips touching for the softest kiss. Her heart pounded against her ribcage so hard she thought it would explode. With a slight part of the lips, their tongues circled in a tease. Carly wasn't sure if she or Avery released the noise that caused her center to come alive. You feel so good. It's been so long, Carly moaned over her lips. For me too, but we need to stop, Avery whispered as the kiss ended. She ran her fingers through the blonde spikes. I have to get to the other job. Ugh, Carly sounded out. Okay. You don't make it easy, Avery Johnson. I never planned on it, Carly Hutch. The car pulled into the parking space 20 minutes later, and Carly turned with a smile on her face. Okay, what's the smile for? Avery asked. Go ahead, tell me. I'm just pulling my hair back. I love the vision of you pulling your hair back, Carly admitted. She found it sexy. I thought you would be surprised when I tell you we are at Baker's Fishery. How, Avery stuttered the words. Carly laughed. The smell of the mixture of fish and crabs and shrimp is unique for this part of town. Plus, hear the bell ringing in the distance? That's a guide for boaters to enter the harbor. Now, the question is, why are we here? A 2-minute walk and they were on the docks. A tear threatened the corner of her eye as Carly traced the outline of a giant fish. She fanned her fingers over the fin, skimmed the body, and ended at the head and the mouth. The cold of the ice numbed her fingertips. It's a bluefish, close to 15 pounds, beautiful. See this nick on the body? Carly pointed. A large fish most likely took a bite out of this lady. Avery stood watching Carly examine the fish. You can tell it's a girl? Sure, see? Carly pointed to something under the fish's belly that Avery didn't understand. Well, I have to unload this crate. So are you ready? I'll toss the fish to you, and then you make a 180-degree turn and dump the fish in the transfer unit. Carly twisted and found the metal container that would transfer the bluefish by ship to other parts of the world. She took some practice turns and dumping attempts. Carly laughed out loud as the first slippery fish landed in her arms. A wild juggle before she got grasp of the fish, then a twist and a final toss. Carly turned back to face Avery. She motioned with both hands, send another, her voice filled with glee. A smile pasted on her face. She caught, twisted, and dumped over and over. After completing the jobs, they headed to the marina with a sense of accomplishment. Carly unbuckled her seatbelt before she spoke. Tonight was the best date ever, thank you. She twisted to the left with her hand falling into Avery's lap. Lips touched, their kiss building from raw to passion, then back to soft. Come home with me, she whispered. Avery whispered kisses over Carly's knuckles. Not tonight, but soon. She leaned in and whispered in her ear, I want your hands on my body, but not tonight. You stink of fish. Carly leaned her head against the headrest. What are you doing to me? The same thing you're doing to me, Avery responded. And end.
And scene. Excellent. We've had a lot of very appreciative comments on Facebook Live. Ooh, flames. That's sexy, great read. Love the way LL reads. So
my mouth is dying, dry mouth, so I wasn't. Wasn't ready for that.
Well, I don't think it was. I
Yeah.
really don't think it was noticeable. So we're all good. Lauren Lewis Stark has a question. This is a great book, marvelous sequel. Was it hard to write such a special character with an impairment?
Very hard, very hard. And actually, I'm on a characters panel after this, and and I'm sure it'll come up. But yeah, Carly was my hardest character ever. It took about a year because I did do research and met people and interviewed people, because never having to deal with blindness in my family or friends. So it was very hard. But it took about a year to write the book, and so far the reviews, I did justice to her, so I'm happy with that.
Excellent. Yeah, it must be really difficult. I've written a deaf character, and luckily I have friends that are deaf, so that does help. But it must be really difficult to write something where you literally know nobody with that kind of impairment. You've got to kind of reach out to people. So
Yeah.
Cool. Your the kind of series that Carly is part of deals with escorts quite a lot. Is that generally correct, or am I getting that wrong?
No, you're right. It's kind of a different series. Knights of Lily Ann, the main character Lily Ann in the book, that goes from book to book to book. She is an escort, and she's hired by different women throughout the book. She's trying to take care of her siblings. Their parents died in a car wreck, and she's raising her 3 siblings, and she escorts. And of course, then the other story is always the main one. Like the first one was Kathleen, and this one's Carly. Well, obviously Carly hires Lily Ann, and it's escort doesn't mean sex all the time. And that's one of the things I tried to do in the book is to explain that escort sometimes is just a talk. Yes, sometimes she is hired for sex, but a lot of times I have her playing checkers with Lily Ann playing checkers with elderly people. I have an author in one book who just wants to read to her. And then of course, like I said, there is sex, but so Lily Ann is that part of the book, and then each book has their own main character, like Carly and Kathleen. And Carly happened to be in the second one, and she is blind, so she actually hires Lily Ann just to talk to actually be blind with her, not for sex. And she wants to just be able to talk to somebody who can't see, and they spend time together getting to know each other.
Excellent. I do apologise. Whisper's barking again in the background. I don't know why she's barking. I just wondered what it was about that profession that drew you to want to write about Lily Ann.
Yeah, it's the stigma that escorts get. I tried to change it. Well, the way some people, and I did accomplish it. And the best review I ever got was when somebody who read it actually told me what I tried to go out and do, which is change the way people look at escorts. And, like I said, most of the time people put words together: prostitute, escort, lady of the evening, escort. People, they're not always, hired just for sex. They're hired to talk. They make people feel good. And like I said, that was my whole purpose. And my readers have fallen in love with Lily Ann, and so they're hoping for a romance for her to come in the future.
That would be really nice, wouldn't it? Serena, have you got any questions for LL?
Well, I was wondering, this is since I'm always wondering how to increase readership. I'm looking into translation of books. So since you have a blind character, have you thought about making this in Braille, or how we would go about that? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it did cross my mind, and I would love to. couldn't even imagine what it would cost. The lady who inspired me and who I interviewed went blind when she was in her 20s, just like Carly. And she raised a whole family. And the book is actually dedicated to her. Her daughter read it to her, but yeah, Braille would be nice, but I've looked into translating books also, and it gets high priced.
Mm-hmm.
Really does. I wish there was a cheaper route, but unfortunately, but it would be really, hopefully the audiobook is coming out soon. So that will help if I can get to the blind community and they could read it. I mean, listen to it. That would be wonderful. And my narrator did a wonderful job. It's in the final process. So it's wonderful in audio. So
I have a follow-up if I can, Jen. So is the reason why your character said she went blind when she was 20, is that because you know this person who also went blind when she was 20, so they had more, you could use her experiences, so it's more accurate?
Yeah, I debated how to have her go blind, whether at birth or later on in life. And actually my hairdresser mother is the one that went blind, and I was talking to her about the book before I even knew that. And so she set up phone conferences between me and her mother, and she was, certain things, and I tried to make Carly, I didn't want the readers to feel sorry for her. That wasn't what this book was about. They looked at her as a normal person who just had extra stuff to deal with. And when people tell me that in reviews, I know I did my job. I didn't want to concentrate on how she makes coffee or how she, determines the color of her clothes. It was about finding love. She was in love with this girl, and, finding love. Her issue was she used to be a fisherman, and she lost that, and dealing with that, and she shut that part of her life down, and bringing it back. So was the book story. So if that helps any.
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Sounds really good. I need to look into your books and add them to wish lists and things. Because Christmas is coming up, so I'm hoping to get books. That would be cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. Have we got any more questions for each other, Serena and LL?
What's next for you, LL?
Well, COVID is thrown me for a loop. There's a little bit of writer's block, but I am I want to write the sequel to Blood Runs Through the Heart. Is a book I wrote for my sister. It was a vampire fantasy kind of paranormal book. I would like to write that, the sequel. So I get over this writer's block, then I'll get at it. So I am in the GCLS writing academy. So I've got a whole bunch of homework. They're relentless on homework. So I have been doing that.
Good for you. Homework's important.
Yeah. How about you, Serena? What's up next for you?
Well, basically right now the big thing is my Dreams trilogy. So Dreams is out. It was the book that came out before Leveled. I wrote the second book, Miracles, and it's with I sent it off to May, my publisher, to see what she thinks of it. And I'm currently writing the third and last in that, called Heroes. So, and then then I have a lot of like work in progress ideas. So, but then I'm going to take one of the characters from this trilogy and spin it off into that sort of like thriller series that will involve that law enforcement military element I was referring to earlier. So.
Cool. Yeah, we love a trilogy.
And I have to apologize. A lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, there were some comments after Dreams. I really love the way Dreams ended. I guess I should. I mean, I wrote it, but they wanted more. They wanted more. And at the time, I was like, I was like, well, okay, what would be next for them? And then I thought about it, and then you know, miracle ideas happen, no pun intended. And yeah, I started off with this, you know, finishing it off with a trilogy. Lots of adventures for Leela and Aurora.
Yay!
What will I put them through next?
The job of an author.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. Again, 2 really different books.
Yeah.
Being read from, it's really nice. Loving the variety that we're getting this weekend. So yeah, that's LL Shelton and Serena J. Bishop. And next we have Katie Williamson and M.A. Binfield. I know M.A. Binfield is watching this Facebook Live, so hi.
Hello.
And yeah, so we will be back at 3:30 for some more readings. Until then, see you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for watching.